Yo, what up, Kang?
Yo, Seabear, what's up, man?
What you on, man?
I think we should get to work.
What you got in mind, man?
I think you know what we need to do.
Welcome to the Kang Seabear Show.
All right, welcome back to the Kang and Seabear Show.
Episode 6.
I can't believe we made it this far,
man. It's actually been a long time since we did a podcast.
It has been like almost a year and a half, I think.
Yeah. First time we're in the same room together for more than a few days.
It's been good.
Yeah.
Been having a lot of fun.
We have. A lot of downtime, which has been good. I think we needed that a lot.
Yeah, we were at a slower pace for sure. It was just go, go, go in Ohio. And I think here we took some time to relax and let things sink in. And
Yeah. Now we're in the refining process. And of what we're talking about. The thing we've been waiting for so long.
the album
Support
group. Yes.
Ah,
It's a masterpiece. It really is. I couldn't be happier with it.
absolutely. I came up, finished my 2 verses that needed changed, reworked a bit.
And they sound really great.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
They sound perfect.
You gave me a lot of good pointers in the booth there. It was good.
That's what I do.
That's what you do. But yeah, we're extremely happy with that. And now we really just want to take time on the podcast. 3 episodes, actually. And we're going to discuss, on this one up front, what the album's really about. And we're going to break down the first 3 songs. Next episode will be the next 3. And then the last 3. And do you want to explain to them why we're doing it that way?
The more we listen to it going from when we had recorded it, we kind of noticed that it almost broke up into 3 acts. It's 9 songs total, and each act is 3 songs, where the first 3 songs kind of reflect our adolescence as young musicians and these kind of cocky assholes who are just trying to like prove ourselves to the world and let everybody know what we're doing. And the middle act is us as young adults starting to doubt ourselves, starting to, branch into the real world and figure out what we're doing while also, fighting our...
In a real, I guess a good way to say it is like really starting to embrace the darker side of life.
Yeah.
Realizing it's a part of us and it's new. We're kind of scared, but like you said, we just left that kind of invincible phase of life.
We're losing self-assurance and
Yeah.
finding self-consciousness.
And there's a lot of wisdom there. Maybe we don't understand it yet in the songs at this point, but that's like the development of wisdom. It seemed like at that time, like, you're going this way or that way. Like, you better go this way.
Right.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, and then the final 3 songs are, I feel like the maturity, we're finally adults and we've learned and we've grown and we're looking at more than just ourselves. We're looking at our relationship to our community and to, our significant others and to the people that matter most to us and really finding hope in the negative side of those, but, embracing what's good about it too.
Yeah. And the more we talked about how we're going to play this album out, like, that last 3rd part is like ownership.
Right.
Even in, song 8, which we won't name yet, but there's a lot of like, well, you did these things to me, but I also
I do it
did
to
them.
you.
And I do it to myself, and we all kind of share that. There's
Yep.
back and forth. And then again, yeah, we're expressing things that, yeah, it did affect us, but at the same time, it's like we're owning our own mistakes.
Yep.
And I think the last song, which we'll hit on hardcore, but that's really the magnum opus of it all.
It is. Can't wait to show it to
That's
you
like
guys.
pure just truth. We're actually giving you guys, this is a story of our life.
That might be the most vulnerable I think I've ever been making music.
That was a really hard day or 2 making that for sure.
Yep. But it also, like, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but the last thing to say, like, I feel like we wrote those verses really quick because it was just like this raw emotion that just like was spilling out at the time when we were in that mode.
Yeah. And writing that way, just to segue for a second, like, yeah, when you're faced with that truth, it just really does come out of you. And you're right, we wrote that very quick. But that was probably the most powerful lyrics on the album. Story, structure, everything. So, but anyways, let's not get too sad just yet.
Let's start to work our way into this. So the last little bit of, overarching stuff we'll say would be this album was generated from myself going to Ohio. If you've watched the last couple episodes of the podcast, then you'll know what that was about a little bit. We talked a lot about that stuff. But
Yeah.
I was there for what, 11 days, 12 days?
Let's just call it 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
And we
12, 13 days.
sequestered ourselves in this big house, and we were like, we're gonna make a music video, we're gonna make an album, we're gonna re-record an old song, Castrate, which is out now. But no, so it was this idea of, let's see what we can do in this amount of time, and we ended up doing a whole lot of stuff.
We did, yeah. We have a lot to show for that 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm proud of that. We did not stop. Those were easily 16, 20-hour days. And even when we had our downtime, we were still working on it.
Yep.
Yeah. And you know, the journey of it all. Again, like you just said, the real point of this is this album is about the journey of making it.
Mm-hmm.
The self-discovery process that revealed itself to us.
Yep.
'Cause I remember,
That's like the brand of this whole album, I feel like.
yeah. And it's, that wasn't really up front what we wanted. We didn't know that. But we knew that. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was in here, and I think we were fighting a lot of things, and then it just came clear, like, this is support group.
Yep.
Yeah. And again, we grew up, understand things differently. I think it's easier to shape it now that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and be honest.
And then we made it and assigned meaning to it later,
Yeah.
which is kind of crazy. I've never done
Kind
anything
of talk
like that.
about on podcasts too.
Yeah.
If you want to go back and listen.
Go listen now.
Listen now.
Anyways, let's get into song number 1, shall we? Do you wanna
Kick it off?
reveal it?
Yeah. So track number 1, Saturn's Return.
Saturn's Return.
Now I'm sure some of you might be familiar with that phrase or that term, that terminology, what that means. We weren't actually at the time.
Mm-hmm. I had never heard about it.
Yeah. You presented the beat and you said, let's think of this as a comeback song.
Mm-hmm.
This is the street anthem. This is the crowd pleaser or the show opener, right?
The chanty chorus, like,
Yeah.
let's bring people out, let's get them bouncing up and down,
But
show
at
them
the
who
same
we are.
but at the same time too, who are these two people?
Right.
Like, we've returned. We know what we've gone through over the years. We know what we have worked for, but
But
now
the
we're
listener might not.
yeah. And even our brand, something we've worked on for years. We are the Metaphorical Oracles are from another dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've returned, and we're back, brand new, and it's, I don't know. That's what that song's really about.
Mm-hmm.
And it is. It's kind of, I think in hip hop, there's a lot of like, yeah, let's take this track and just get a little funky and talk about ourselves.
Right.
In a hype way.
Yeah.
And it's not really cocky, it's just a creative way to describe your skills or where you're coming from. And I think, again, we stayed true to who we were. There's no fabrications here. But this song was really fun.
That was really fun to write.
Yeah.
That thing.
And it evolved so much. Like,
It did. It started with
insane.
just this basic loop.
Was
and
this
then
like
we
a drum track?
Yeah, a drum track, and I think it was like a little guitar, like a bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
And then we added these trumpets in there and like these weird synth bass tones, and we found these little samples of like this guy going like, "You meant to find purpose in life," and it's a funny one, and it all just kind of came together. And then the idea of Saturn's Return came when we were on the phone with our mutual friend Milan,
That's right.
and he was talking about the return of Saturn in like your 30th year on Earth.
Well, I think that's what nudged him to bring that out. We said that to him first. We're like, look, I think this is really about, at 30, feeling this weird feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I remember, I was explaining, I just had turned 30, remember?
Yep.
That's right. And I was like, man, I felt this big weird change. Like, I didn't know what it was. And not to get too like hippy dippy, but it was real. And I was overwhelmed by it. And then he brought that up.
And that just snowballed from there.
Yeah. And it all made sense. And like, it really, did we already have the chorus? I can't remember.
No, we didn't.
We didn't.
We didn't have anything. We weren't sure what to do with it, honestly.
Yeah. That's right.
And immediately that was just like, here it is.
Yeah. And again, we kept having all these weird coincidental moments where, like, on the podcast, like the day before that we recorded, we're like, man, sometimes inspiration or something you need comes from out of completely a random person or thing. Maybe they're not even embedded in what you are, but you got to listen to these people.
Yep.
You got to share these things, which really goes back to the album. You and I have always been pretty sheltered with our shit.
Yeah.
And this one really just changed things, so Saturn Returns.
Saturn Returns.
And you know what? Yeah, it's a fun anthem song. We got to be pretty metaphorical on it.
Yeah,
I
we got
think-
to really mess with some words and
Which, by the way,
rhyme schemes and
I remember you in the kitchen. You're like, look, I think I got something. And I was just like, yeah, I fucking think you do. That was so good. And it was great. I was struggling. I was like, man, what do I want to say? But, you know, I got the rhythm back, and you really made something beautiful with that one.
yeah, we did.
I love that
It's
song.
a nice. I feel like it's one where you listen to it and you're like, okay, I can listen to the rest of this album now.
Yeah. And it's the polar opposite. It's north and south from the last song.
Yep.
The album just works that way. And again, we want to hit on this a lot. Like, if you're gonna listen to this album, just press play.
Play it all the way through. It's
Be
meant to
alone.
be listened to from front to back.
Yeah, lay down in bed.
Turn your phone off.
But this is an experience.
Yep.
Like, we spent 2 years on this, literally, and we're crafting this thing, and it's meant to be experienced that way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Moving on.
Yeah.
Track number 2, Overrated, which I'll start off on this one.
Go
That
ahead.
originally was a song that I had worked on a couple of years before this with an old collaborator, Keenan, who I was living with in Chicago.
that's right.
And him and I had made an album
You
together.
doing this without me? I'm just kidding.
Always. You building talkie houses without me? Him and I had made an album together, and we were working on some new stuff that we weren't sure what was going to happen. We were just kind of messing around with random ideas. And then we had this big falling out, and I had this whole verse written, and him and I had kind of co-wrote the chorus, which was this whole idea of like motivation ain't overrated. It's like finding a way to push through like your boredom and your inner voice saying like, oh, like maybe you shouldn't do this today. Maybe you should just watch TV. Maybe you should just, play
Create your
video
comforts.
games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't try anything that's gonna scare you. Like fuck that. Just do what's comfortable. But no, the motivation is not overrated. When you do it, it feels amazing, and something good's gonna come out of it. And
it's usually uncomfortable
It is.
during the time of it. You're right.
So when we decided to do this, I kind of brought this song to Jackson. I was like, hey man, I've got this one. It's got this weird beat.
Yeah, it fucking did.
And it's got it's a pretty simple idea.
Yeah.
The song is it's very short. It's not even 2 minutes long, and it's just a very basic idea, but it's done in such a interesting, different way. And it was cool for me personally to see that song finally come together in a way that I couldn't have even imagined back then. Even that song, the beat changed in so many crazy ways.
Yeah, I mean, even from the raw recording you and I did till like months later when you sent me the second draft, and I was like, what? This is amazing. The evolution of it. And again, going back to the album, the nature of it, even where I was at, I think that was the second song we tried to tackle.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Second, third, whatever, but like, I remember just to preface, we talk about this a lot in the documentary for support group, but I was just really getting back into this with you after 9.5, 10 years.
It was a while.
Hadn't like wrote anything, hadn't been like rapping or singing or whatever. And that beat was like, I was scared.
I remember you being just like, what is this?
Remember how like I couldn't figure it out. It was like I was stressing and like I had a little breakdown, and again, that was it. You knew how I am. I'm always trying to push so hard for everything. Even the littlest things, it's got to be like, not perfect, but I'm like, man, like.
It's gotta be though.
Yeah. And I was sitting there and I was like trying to complicate this song. And then the more you talked about the idea you had about it, I was like, fuck it. I need to be comfortable saying the most simple thing I can. Mm-hmm. And it's something I don't like to really do. We're the metaphorical oracles. We don't want to say easy things, but
Right.
that song lent itself. And it was a spike. Because you had such a heater on that one. And if you've heard it all, like, dude, you killed it on that one.
Thanks,
Props. I mean, everything on this album, but I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I can't do that right now. And I went first. It's not weaker, but there's less.
It ramps up in a logical way.
Yeah, I give you, it's like a spike, and you just come in like, bam. And it's like, okay, it's perfect. And that was like the motivation I needed. Like, quit being a little baby. I wasn't, but you know what I mean. I was scared. I was struggling, and I will never give 25% to anything.
Well, I just gave you a big hug and it was all good.
That's exactly what happened, yeah. You were like, you alright? And I was like, no. And then I literally pulled right from my life. In particular, like the events of the past 6 months that led up to right when we were making that, I was like, just pull from that. I was unmotivated for a while, but I'm so ambitious all the time. Like, you know how it is, sitting in bed, feeling like you're overcharged, but
Yeah.
I was given into my creature comforts. I was really doubtful in all these things, and then I said, fuck it, like, you know, love myself more and others, and grow, and just be okay with the easy things, but never stop.
Yep.
And it's a pump-up song. You know, we all share this meme all the time, like, it's free to gas people up. That's what the song's about. Yeah, it's free.
That's good.
Everyone shares it, but we don't talk about it enough. And it's like, that's what the song's for, too.
Yeah.
Go
I hope
with
it's one that people can listen to on a day when they're like on their way to work and they just hate their life and they're like, I just don't want to go in today, and they turn that on and blast it in their car and they're like, you know what? I can do this.
You know, maybe we'll take that scene from Office Space
Ooh, yeah.
where Michael Bolton is
He's rapping in the
and we
car.
just dub over with, because that's how I picture it. Some guy at Initech going, I don't want to go to fucking work, but like, motivation ain't overrated.
Should I go to work or stay in my basement?
Yeah. And you know, again, that one, being young, overly
Yeah.
motivated, and not really knowing how to manage that,
Mhm.
you know, which we get into later, but that's overrated, man.
It's a great song.
It's a great song.
It really is. It's become one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And it's it's so short that you could just like listen to it over and over and not get tired of it.
Yeah, that song never gets overrated.
Nice.
Yeah.
Swish.
Swish.
Let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back after these short messages.
Limit to my cognizance. Motivation ain't overrated. Should we go for broke or should we go for basic?
Might have been the one.
Sometimes I don't feel so creative. But we know it's worth it when we know we've made it.
All right. Hope you enjoyed that little commercial.
I know I did.
I know I did. I almost didn't make it back to the couch. Well, on to track number 3.
This one is something else.
Yeah, we can spend a little time here.
I think so.
Yeah. Track number 3, called For the Hell of It. And actually, we didn't have that name for this song right up until the end, if I recall.
It was
Right.
kind of a kismet moment because we both had
It was in the booth.
yes.
That's right.
The way we did this song was we wanted to make a song that was inspired by our freestyle days, because we used to a long time ago make all of our music essentially by freestyling and just kind of seeing what happened with it.
Worked out.
And so we spent one night just going back and forth freestyling. It was like, okay, let's each freestyle like 4 bars and then hop out and the next person will come in and build off of that. And we kind of took what we had recorded and then picked little pieces here and there, and a narrative started to kind of take form. And then we both went off and did our own writing and came back. And we're like, okay, what's going to be like one long verse leading right into the other long verse. And somehow we both had the line "for the hell of it"
And
in our verses.
We had, and that was silently written. I think we were like, okay, that's what I got. And we're like, wait a
It was
minute.
just kind of like, wait a minute, we both say "for the hell of it"?
Yeah. And again, this is the last song in this era of this third. And like,
This is this really like ambitious, go for broke, give it every last bit of energy you have.
yeah. And let's say that even like despite what you're hearing in the lyrics, just the energy of that song,
Yep.
and the charisma and the last ditch effort of just saying, fuck it.
Yep.
I said some things I would not normally say, but
Not in polite conversation, but
No.
when you're with your friends, like,
yeah.
yeah.
And again, we are trying to, there's some homage there. I would not call myself like a rapper or creators. I think this is our medium. And, to honor freestyling. I used to grow up and I'd watch 106 in Park with my brothers, and they had it in the basement, and I was like, man, that's so crazy what they're doing. And it was just incredible. I always admired that, wordplay, but a freestyle, like a rap battle, like you're trying to tear someone else down. I'm pretty sure we've all seen 8 Mile. It's
yeah.
fantastic.
Great movie.
That last scene, like who didn't want to have that moment? And that's really what you and I took advantage of right before we moved into real life. And I remember that moment in life. Let's call it 22 to like 25, end of an era. And we just kind of let loose. But the song itself, where it spun out of, that first night we were just freestyling. And it was terrible.
It was so bad. We listened back to it recently, and it was funny.
It was funny, for sure.
But
we weren't
Not good.
trying.
I wouldn't
anything.
put it out.
No,
I don't want
no.
anyone else to hear it.
I might show another buddy who makes music and be like, look at this shit. But
I'm
we
gonna
needed
burn you
that.
down like a forest tree.
Yeah. But we needed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like getting on a bicycle. We're
It's
just
just getting the goo out.
getting the yak out. I always say that. Getting the yak out. But yeah, that was it really for the hell of it. And you know, you were like, hey, I'm gonna give you, what was it, a minute and 20 seconds?
Yeah, I think we each do about a minute and 20.
Yeah. Which is not easy, by the way.
No, it's long.
We are nonstop. There's no
Mm-hmm.
breaths, like. But I think even that, we grew up, we discovered a new way to process our process.
Mm-hmm.
We now record differently the way
Yep.
we do it, and that allowed us more time to think about what we were writing. We didn't try to focus on the whole bit. We just had a few lines, and it's like, all right, let me get this cadence right.
Right.
Then we'd sit there and be like, wait, this could be better. And it became such a great way to do it together now.
It was awesome. And this one's so raw too, where like the beat is very stripped back. All it is just drum, a bass line, and then these little guitar like
That's it.
And that's it. And then it's really driven by us
Yeah.
more than anything. Like yes, the beat gives it its rhythm and like the cadence, but it's really just us like carrying that entire song and trying to make you laugh and
Yes.
just
Yeah. And again, I think going back to even that one, I was still struggling to get out what I thought I wanted.
Mhm.
And again, I just said, fuck it. For one, the song's called For the Hell of It.
right.
So even like at that one part, I went with an ABBA rhyme scheme. I rhymed one with one and sun with sun.
Mhm.
And to me, that was funny. I mean, Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne did it. Generals gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. And I was like, he fucking did it, so I'm gonna do it. And I love that song.
It's great. It's like,
Everybody loves that song. That we
everyone I've
show.
shown it, it's gotten very good praise.
Like they play 30 seconds and like, all right, I gotta restart because I'm laughing. I want to hear it again. That's good.
exactly what it was meant to be.
And you know what? I think we didn't mention yet something that we did on this one that we always used to do in the past because we want to bring back, we want to retain the oracles, but we're like, all right, let's respond to each other's freestyles.
Right.
You got on mine and we're like responding to things I said, vice versa, and that was a good moment. I was like, all right, we're back. Because that was easy. We got in there and just fucking did it.
Yeah, and then we also did a reaction take too, where
We're
and this
laughing
is,
at ourselves.
This is also to kind of push this point home, where like if you're listening to this and you think that we're being serious with like our vulgarity and some of the stuff we're saying, like just listen to the fact you can hear us laughing in the background because we sat there in the booth together with our headphones on. And listened to it, and it's basically like we made a reaction video to our own song. We listened and laughed, and
that's
just
genuine
fun.
laughter.
Yeah.
That wasn't a put on. Dude, I showed my mom, a very just Christian woman. She doesn't like stuff like that, and she said that was the funniest song. She's like, play it again. She did. She's like, did you say fart in your snorkel? And I was like, she's like, that's
Damn right I did.
Yeah.
It's a great song. It really is. I feel like the epitome of everything that we did previously,
And this
which closes out that era
of our life,
and
right
our,
before
our
we split
collaborative
off.
efforts.
Yeah, right before we split off, and part 2 of this album really began in our lives, like you just said. Yeah, that was fun. It was funny, and too, like you said, we got back to who we were, but it was better.
Yes.
And I think when we were writing this, we didn't talk to each other about what we were writing.
Mm-mm.
But after all that time apart, we're still in sync. I mean, we even wrote For the Hell of It, like you said.
I know, that was so crazy.
And even in my doubtful state, I wrote that end line, and you were like, oh, I'm going to end mine with a Pokemon reference, too.
Yep.
And, we did really good this time with that.
There
Remember
was
in
a
the
lot
past?
of parallels between our verses, and even stuff, especially on your end, with themes and lines
Which I never
that
stuck
come
to.
back later on, but in different ways.
Yeah, it's almost like the solution in the end.
Yep.
Which we'll talk about, but...
It's a concept album that isn't a concept album.
Yeah.
But it also somehow all makes sense together. And
Yeah.
everything just bridges perfectly. Oh.
And weird things have been happening since. Like we said, if we didn't understand what it was really for, even if it was a little part, something revealed it in the world to us. Like, oh, this all was supposed to happen this way.
This was meant to come out. the
Forgive
way
my
it did.
fudged up words there. I'm all getting excited. Yeah.
Oh God, what was that?
Gorsh, Max! But yeah, I mean, that's it. Part 1 is really, it's our comeback.
Mm-hmm.
But it's remarking on our younger days.
It's
The journey to the beginning.
It's an homage to who we were while also shedding that old skin.
That's beautiful. That's it. Yeah.
And it leads perfectly into the next part of the album, which we will get into on the next episode.
So before we end this one, perhaps we can just do a few plugs on some things that we have out right now.
Yeah.
Just to remind people. Castrate, our first single in 10 years.
Yep.
It's out there. It's on Spotify, other places you listen to music, right?
Really anywhere. Even if anybody out there has Deezer,
I was
there
going to
you go.
say Deezer. It's up on YouTube. Obviously the music video, but you don't have to watch it. You should.
It's cool. We put a lot of work into that too.
Yeah.
Jackson mostly. I just kind of stood there.
It's a dual effort. Yeah, and again, I do a lot of the visual end. You take care of all the music end. But we come together and help each other in good ways.
Mm-hmm.
And, we teach each other our crafts, which I like.
Yep.
You're willing to learn. I want to learn what you're doing more. And even this week we spent together, I don't know if you know, I'm really trying to work better for you as the sound engineer.
Right.
I'm trying to learn how to breathe better when we're singing and, learn how to control the release of it. And I think even today, I'm finally starting to get it more.
It's working really well.
That new chorus, man. Which, again, got some new singles we've actually gotten created.
We'll get more into that later.
Yeah.
You'll see.
Documentary's out as well for Castrate.
It just came out.
Yeah. Which really, you should check that out. Who doesn't want to behind the scenes and how this was all created? And Zach and I went pretty in depth about the song, how we came up with a theme for the music video. I mean, everything, really. There's a lot of laughs in it.
It's just trying to get people caught up on what they might have missed from our old stuff and how we got to where we are now.
Yeah.
Because we're coming back, but nobody knew we were around to begin with.
No, and that's kind of how we presented it.
Mm-hmm.
Like we already existed as these megaliths in a sense. And two, even where we're at today, all that time we spent apart working on things, we're really starting to think about, and not in a way to garner attention or fucking reactions or likes, but how are we going to deliver this effectively?
Mm-hmm.
How much time do we fucking spend on paper? There's no creativity. It's and you're really good about it. I know I spill a lot, and then you're like, okay, let's cross this. And again, that's how you and I work, setting up the release of Castrate, the way we built our Instagram, all that effort. I get that we do want people to engage with that.
There's a lot of intent behind it. It's not just random images and ideas. It's really it's hard to build a brand, but that's really what we're kind of trying to do. And each release has its own brand, while also being under our umbrella brand of the Metaphorical Oracles, or the Brazen brand.
The Brazen brand. That's absolutely right. Yeah. And that was just it. I mean, we want to give everyone the tools and the navigation to explore these things. Again, that's why we're pushing the doc. You'll see someone put out a new song, one of your favorite artists. Immediately you're like, well, what's next?
Right.
You kind of want to go down that rabbit hole. So we've thought about all this, ahead of time, and we have these things in place for you. Mm-hmm. It's not infinite, but it's pretty vast right now.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go through all our content.
We have a lot of videos up on Instagram and the reels
YouTube.
on YouTube too, or
Yeah.
shorts, whatever it's called.
And again, in a stream of narrative,
Mm-hmm.
from one to where the last one is, it all connects. And now we're getting into this one. We're relaxing a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said the other day, let's not go so heavy on this concept.
It should be more organic, kind of like how it was when we made the thing.
Yeah. And even the podcast, you guys are going to see a lot of that up until the release of the album. But again, like Zach and I have been saying, the promotion of this was the creation of this.
Right.
Yeah. And not just for ourselves. Support group is, speaking largely to a world that needs healed, a society that needs healed. And what a better way to do that than with art and music and being honest.
Let us be your support group.
Yeah. If you don't feel like saying it, then we'll say it for you. Yeah, we've been miserably depressed. We've had horrible anxiety. We've had, severe traumas, all these things, but so have you.
Mm-hmm.
And so have they. And that's all right. I haven't felt better about a lot of things since we made that album.
See?
I still feel the high of it, and that was good. You and I both needed to do that. And look where we're at now. I think we're sticking to it harder than we ever have.
Yeah, we really are. It's been a lot of hard work these last couple
Dude.
weeks. Just the rollout of like, we kept talking to people where it's like we're putting out all these reels and advertisements for Castrate, and they're like, "Oh, I can't wait to hear the album." It's like, "Oh, this is just for a single." And they're
This
like,
is just
this
for
is for
this.
one song. Like,
Yeah.
this is more than I've ever seen anyone do.
But we were patient, and we did. Remember, even the TV ads.
Mhm.
I was like, well, what if we just pop it up on the black background? I remember that day at work, I was sick. I was like, I don't want to fucking do this, but I kind of was like, motivation.
Ain't
I
overrated.
was like, get your ass back in there and do something. I spent the time, and look what it made, man.
It's awesome.
And in part with
you
your
did a great
help.
job on those.
Dude, thank you, and you did as well. You collected all the archival information. You gave me some like timestamp pointers. We thought, okay, this for this part of the song, etc. We came up with some weird ads, irrelevant. What would you call them?
The GTA ad.
Arbitrary.
Yeah.
But in a sense,
The
dude,
caveman one.
the most viewed one out of all those still.
It's great.
Yeah, the GTA one was fun. Let's talk about that one for just a sec. I mean, obviously the GTA 6 trailer rocked everybody's world.
Yeah. It was like the most viewed video ever.
Yeah.
In a day.
Yes. And that Tom Petty song is...
It's so good.
It's probably one of the best songs I've ever heard.
It's really good. It's got such a good drivey feel to it.
Yeah. But again, weirdly, I said, let me slap this together. And what I did was like, wait, I'm going to copy the Grand Theft Auto trailer, like, shot for shot. Just using our stuff, our logo. Even when, like, the hits of the song came and the logo came in, like, we matched it perfectly.
It looks so good.
And you and I always run into this. We just did this today on a reel that we made. We make it, and we're like, well, let's put the song in, and hopefully at the drop of the beat, this is when we can start that.
And it works.
We didn't even try to
Just
edit.
drop the song in and it was right where it needed to be.
And that's what I did with the GTA 6 one. I built the narrative with the film, or the shots, and then I put it in, and I was like, please work, because I'm fucking exhausted. And then, when they're marching...
Oh, that was awesome.
I didn't do that. It just worked. And that trailer, I love that trailer. That was fun.
It was good. You did great. You did a great job on that.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.
And again, us thinking, like, cut the fat. We had to throw something in there that was a bit arbitrary. We were pretty heavy on the political ads.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Castrate's a pretty political song. It's
Talk about it.
It's trying to break out of the natural order of things, and maybe you feel stuck in your normal rhythms with your work, the government, just society in general. It all just kind of sucks right now. It doesn't matter what side of the coin you're on. We're all fucking pissed off. We're all confused. We don't want anybody to be telling us what to do. And
But we do at the same time.
but we need it, unfortunately. But,
Yeah, it's
but
weird.
it's the whole idea of how do you break out of that? How do you break through this illusion of time? Because as much as we think that this is very specific to our generation, this has been happening for as long as people can remember. I feel like, no matter what side of the government you're on or what political views you have, someone's not going to be happy.
Yeah.
And we're all just in the same struggle 4 years at a time, and
that's it. Every 4 years.
then the cycle repeats and continues, and it's all just an illusion.
Yeah. And I think in that one, we'll talk about it for a bit, since we're talking about the album, but Castrate we didn't really get to hit on that much as we thought when listening back to the old podcast. I think when you and I took the approach, you wrote a little more for the omniscient narrative, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like I'm speaking generally, and I kind of took the more personal side of it.
Right.
If people didn't understand that listening to it, right? That one was pretty metaphorical.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I remember we wrote pretty heavy. It's not highbrow, but even when I listened back to it or read the lyrics the first time on mine, I was like, that's pretty, I don't want to say confusing, but it's deep.
You have to think about it.
You gotta think
It's
about
not
it.
all surface level. Mine's a little more accessible, and then it gets
Yes.
more metaphorical going forward.
Yeah, which was fun. I like the opening line of mine, just to give an example. I was walking down the street with a gun in my hand. It was molded in plastic and made in Japan. A subliminal artifact of mankind's greed, unjust with struggles for once, but never knowing our needs. And I was just thinking, like, that opening line, I might have mentioned this the other day in the car, but I just thought it was weird, like, when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, it's because the U.S. was going to cut off a big oil supply line to them, which would have destroyed they would have, plummeted into chaos. Oil kind of is everything. So we went to war over that. oil, the same oil that is now used to produce a plastic gun that you can buy for your kid or for your own entertainment. And I have the privilege of walking down the street with it, but at the same time, there's a side of guns and warfare that is so violent and malicious towards mankind that, oh, this is strange. Why do I have this gun that's fake? But it represents all that.
Yep.
And then for us to then use oil that we once were about to end the world over just to make a toy for profit, it's crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
A gun says a lot about the world, you know? And that's a heavy opener. But that's just, like you said, it's kind of timeless. We're still fighting over oil. But, yeah, man. Castrate the system. Castrate the illusion.
Well, and it's crazy because we wrote that song like 7 years ago. And it still makes sense.
You brought that up, yeah. Even the fucking ad footage we used, it was all the same shit.
Yep.
Even 500 years ago, like, vote for this asshole or this asshole.
Yeah.
No. Fucking eat my popcorn. I mean,
Yep.
yeah.
Anyway,
Go
listen to Castrate. If you haven't listened to Support Group yet, take 28 minutes out of your day.
And I challenge you, be ballsy and comment on our stuff. Tell us if you don't like it, and tell us why.
Yeah. Follow us on @Metaphorical Oracles on Instagram.
We also own the whole first page of Google.
Mm-hmm. Google. Gargle.
Gargle.
And we have links to everything in the Instagram too. It's kind of your one-stop shop to everything that we do.
Yeah. All right, well, I think we've talked enough.
Yeah.
I've talked enough.
Closing out this next episode.
I can't believe we made it this fucking far, dude. But yeah, just to recap, part 1 of Support Group is the comeback, the end of arrogance, and beginning of real life.
The beginning of depression.
Yeah.
We'll leave you with that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll
Well.
see you next time on the Kang and Seabear Show.
See you next time.
See you next Tuesday.
Are you free on Wednesday?
Yeah, I'm free on Wednesday.